I cannot quite believe that after a year plus long kitchen renovation, I am just a matter of weeks away from fitting my brand new kitchen. Let's take a little walk down kitchen renovation memory lane, shall we? Hi, I'm Alison and welcome to my channel. I'm a DIY renovator with a full-time job and no trade experience, and I am finally coming to the end of my most challenging and ambitious project yet, my kitchen renovation. I bought my first home 2 years ago knowing that I was eventually going to renovate this room, which is the kitchen. However, my plan at the time of buying was to save for a couple of years just living with the current kitchen until I could afford to pay a contractor to come in and renovate it for me. Because at the time of buying this house, DIY renovating was just not in my vocabulary. The existing kitchen on the surface looked fine, just fine. But as anyone who has ever owned or renovated a Victorian terrace will know, not everything is always as it seems. The existing kitchen layout was probably one of the worst kitchen layouts I've ever come across. It was not functional in the slightest. And between the terracotta tiles, the Artex ceilings, the purple walls, the wood cabinets, the dark countertops, everything was a choice. The kitchen is southeast facing, which you would have never been able to guess had you just stepped foot into the old kitchen without knowing what direction you're facing. It was so dark and dingy, and as you can hopefully tell, it is very bright and light at the minute, which I'm so happy with, but we will come on to how I made that happen eventually. Now, as I mentioned, the plan was to live with the kitchen for a few years, save up until I could afford to pay a contractor. So how did I come to ripping out the old kitchen less than a year of living with it? What possessed me to want to do that? In short, this is why. There were three main areas of concern with the old kitchen, so the biggest one being damp and mould. Now, I did have a full level 3 building survey done on the house before I bought it, and one of the things that I had asked them to really look out for was any signs of damp or mould. And in the survey it came back that none was found. So it was definitely quite a surprise to me whenever I first moved into the house and could smell nothing but damp. I discovered that the entire back wall of the kitchen, where I now have my gorgeous French doors, but that entire wall was soaking and crumbling. The building surveyor did have to open cupboards on that wall to take photos of the boiler and whatnot, and I can't quite comprehend how he opened those cupboards, seen that the walls were blue and purple because they were so molded and damp, and still chose to report that there was no signs of damp or mold found. Anyway, the cabinets that were up against that wall had actually absorbed so much of the water that was, I guess, coming into the brickwork, that whenever I did remove them, they were soaked through. The second area of concern was that the bathroom directly above this kitchen had been leaking for God knows how long. It was leaking as soon as I moved in. There was evidence that it had previously leaked and they had tried to repair it because the ceiling had been patched and infilled badly. But as it turned out, it was never properly repaired, so it continued to leak. So when the bath or shower, mostly the shower, the bath I rarely used because I was afraid of the bath falling through the kitchen ceiling. But when the shower was used, my kitchen developed a very unique waterfall feature, essentially. I mean, some people might pay extra money to have a waterfall feature in their kitchen, but no, mine came for free. So that was fun. The third area of concern was mice. There was quite clearly active mice activity in the kitchen and throughout different areas of the house, and it didn't take for me to look too hard to see that there were holes behind the kitchen units, etc., that were going directly outside or into the crawl space underneath the suspended floor in the rest of the house. So the mice had plenty of ways in from outside and then into the house and into the kitchen cabinets, and the whole thing just grossed me out. I hated using it. I hated cooking in here. The layout was terrible. It wasn't functional. There was just cat hair and spiders and grease and bugs. Yeah, so even though it looked fine on the surface, I can assure you it was far from fine. I don't have any before videos of the space really, because I hated it that much that I actually didn't even want to record it. But what I do have are these estate agent photos. I decided that I had had enough of looking at the kitchen the way it was, and I decided to start removing the units by myself, and it escalated from there. I had no plan for what I was actually going to do to the kitchen. I had no plan for how I was going to put it back together, and I had no budget to put it back together. I just started ripping things out and decided to go from there. So over the course of the next few months, I removed all of the cabinets, the tiles, the ceiling, everything. As mentioned, I am now only a few weeks away from fitting my new kitchen. It has been a slow process. So the new kitchen has been finalized and ordered. Having now seen the before space, I would love to hear your thoughts on what you would have done with this space and how you would have designed the layout, etc., to make it more functional. And we can compare notes in part 2 when I take you through the structural changes that I have made. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for part 2 of the kitchen renovation.